So last week, Samaj Ghosh asked me for a title for this week's talk, and of course I hadn't got one. So I scratched my head and inspiration came to me as I was looking around with my friends here. So the title for this week is With a Little Help from My Friends. If you recognise that, that certainly dates you. As I was saying, it's one of the very early songs I heard. So if you know it, you can start humming along with Liz and you'll know what it means. I suppose it's a title that has several meanings in a way. I can immediately talk about the friends here helping me, stopping me running away tonight. And you as friends joining us to make this evening come to life. And it was my way of introducing my talk, which is on the Metta Bhavana practice. And I thought, with a little help from my friends, is a slightly different way of interpreting Metta Bhavana, a slightly different way of looking at it, perhaps. So some of you will have just come across the Metta Bhavana quite recently. I think I introduced it 3-5 weeks ago. So some of you may be fairly new to it. Some of you may have come across it for many years at the centre or elsewhere. Some of you may have picked it up from Maitre Bandu's book. It's at the back there, and he guides us through it to some degree in the book. So I shall talk on the Metta Bhavana, and then we'll practice the Metta Bhavana. The Metta Bhavana is most commonly translated as the cultivation of loving kindness, which does describe it quite well. It's kind of awareness, as it were, from the heart, awareness when we come into contact with other people and what happens there. And sometimes it's just a natural, delightful response we have with other people. Not all the time, of course, but it's bringing awareness to people, bringing our full awareness to people, and seeing to what extent that allows loving kindness to arise. So I think it's really a natural thing that we all have, that all lies within us, and it flourishes to a greater or lesser extent. The purpose of the practice is really to go deeper with it, to explore it more deeply. And in a way, it's a process of looking for beauty within this practice of awareness of ourselves in relationship to other people. And I was thinking when there's times when there can be a sense of real grace when there's a beautiful connection with other people. That simple kindly awareness of taking someone in. And it is like a simple exploration. We can make relationships amazingly complicated. And there's all sorts of reasons for that, and it's quite understandable that comes about. But this is the potential just to return to a little bit of simple exploration, a simple opening up. And it's how to follow that more, how to find that extra depth, that extra sense of beauty, hopefully to enjoy it more. It's not always enjoyable. It can be a bit of a challenge, and there can be depths to it. So we need to not be too. When I say it's a simple expression, we don't want to be simplistic about it. It's not a simplistic, as it were, smiley face that we just stick on and we smile at people and everything's beautiful and wonderful, because there's grit in it, and there's awkwardness, and there's history, and those deep awkward things that arise. And it's not a matter of ignoring them and pretending that everything's wonderful, but it's finding a sense of appreciation of whatever goes on in our relationships with other people. It was a word that Samaj Ghosh really put a bit of emphasis into last week. Appreciation, noticing what goes on, noticing the beauty and delight and awkwardness and uncertainty and the unknown, and allowing that to be there. And it's really worth remembering that we come back again and again, as it were, with the first stage of the Metta Bhavana, this ability to have self-appreciation and self-awareness. with several of the previous stages in this course, there has been that fair bit of focus going on here with the body, with what goes on inside the body, with the responses. And it's possible to get a little bit of a mismatch with excessive self analysis or self-indulgence, and it's drawing that out slightly to go a bit further. So it's not too much lost in ourselves, not too much absorbed in ourselves, but a sense of self-awareness, so we can sense a little bit of what's going on. We can pay a bit of attention to what's going on, if it's good or if it's not so good, and appreciate that. And little by little, as we can, see ourselves with kindly eyes and have patience with ourselves and forgiveness for ourselves. And I find those two really both wonderful and challenging practices, coming back to patience with myself, coming back to forgiveness with myself. I practice the Metta Bhavana quite often and sometimes think, I'm not doing it very well, I'm not being very patient with other people, I'm not finding it easy to forgive other people. And suddenly I have to forgive myself for not being very forgiving. I have to have patience with myself when I'm not being very patient, because I can't force it. I can't force this loving kindness. I can't force this patience. It's just having that sense of, yeah, that's what goes on. Those awkwardnesses, those difficulties and tricks come up. How can I just allow them to be there? If I can do that for myself to some degree, it becomes a little bit easier to do that with my good friend. And again, there's definitely a case of with a little help from my friends, from my good friends. Can I turn that opening of kindness towards myself, towards my good friend? In fact, sometimes it's easier towards my good friend than towards myself. So as I'm cultivating kindness towards myself, towards my friend, which flows quite easily, I need to turn that back to myself, think, yeah, if I can be kind and delightful with my friend, how much can I do that with myself? It's yeah, both are wonderful and sometimes a challenging practice. So it becomes a bit of a two-way process towards self and that friend. And again, connecting with that good friend of whoever it may be, one of my many good friends, there's a sense of getting grounded with them because they're outside myself. I can see them living their own lives. I can see them with their qualities, and that grounds me a little bit. And then that can start helping me connect with others. And I can start opening out to one of the phrases we often use in the Metta Bhavana: may I be happy, may he be happy, may they be happy, may I be well, may he, may she be well, may we be well. Yeah, there's the neutral person. And again, I don't really find I exactly have neutral people. Almost everyone I turn towards, there's something generally a bit more positive towards them, a bit more open towards them, or a bit tighter, not quite so easy with them. So no one is exactly neutral as far as I can see. I sort of lean slightly towards them or lean slightly away from them. But generally speaking, someone I don't have much of a connection with, again, not really, maybe I know their name, maybe I don't know their name, may have not met their family, occasional conversation, it might be very superficial. How can I start to move towards them just a little bit more, just allow them to be this wonderful, mysterious person that I don't quite know? And it takes a bit more imagination, because I've got little to go on in terms of not knowing them. So I can open up to their potential delights, their potential messy bits, their not so wonderful bits. And I can sort of, fairly easy, it doesn't take too much imagination to think, well, they probably want to be happy. They probably want to be well. So why can't I wish them that? Why can't I open that up to them? I can't make it happen to them. I can't force it to them. But something goes on in here that just opens me and softens me a bit towards them. Me a little bit. Something opens up there. I'm not trying to cultivate any sort of perfect state for another person, but okay enough. And just allow that okayness to become a bit warmer, a bit richer, a bit more stronger and beautiful. Then we get to the difficult person. And curious enough, obviously, with the difficult person, sometimes it can be quite a hot connection with that person. And I can almost spend as much time thinking and having a bit of passion about the difficult person as I can towards myself or my good friend. But it's a rather distorted sort of passion. It's the wrong sort of concentration in a way, because it can be a bit narrow or tight about them, as if they're doing something wrong. And if only they would change, I'd be happier. And I have to look back and think, I'm not sure if that's going to happen. So one thing when I turn towards a difficult person, sometimes the first thing I have to do is to remember to be kind to myself when I turn towards that person. How much does it bite me when I start thinking about them? And when I have to say to myself, I'm going to have to say, may I be happy to that person? What goes on in my body? Can I have kindness towards myself that I can't quite open up to them as much as I'd like to? I can't have that gentleness, that delight with them as much as I'd like to. So I notice a bit of tightness. Can I let my shoulders go down a bit? Can I give to myself a bit? So that I've got the possibility of just softening and wishing them with a bit more genuineness, wishing them well. I'm unlikely to go straight into loving them, but just that opening a little bit, just that softening, just that greater possibility. They want to be happy. They're not usually trying to cause me suffering, and they don't want suffering. So what can I do to myself that allows me to be a bit more richer with that person, a bit more open to them, explore them as a full person rather than just a difficult person? Well, there's so much to them. How can I allow them to be that sort of person? And of course, there's all beings. There's all those other people. There's other friends, the family. People we go further and further. We can extend out. People around the world, young and old. People who take a lot of imagination to connect with. So many different groups of people, kinds of people, categories of people. And again, it takes how open can we allow the heart to go? How open do we want the heart to be? Okay, so let's turn to practicing this Metta Bhavana. We'll have a body scan first of all, just to allow us to become grounded a little bit. So take a moment or two to settle yourselves down. You may already be in a good position, but allow yourselves to be physically as easy as you can do. Settle into whatever position you can do. If you can close your eyes. Get in touch with your breathing. The possibility of softening. Because I've been talking and thinking, my energy's in my head. So I'm just going to pay attention to that. Notice the busyness in my head. As I breathe, just beginning to give the possibility of that busyness to slow down a bit. The physical aspect. My head, my scalp and the muscles there. Letting my forehead ease a little bit. And the face giving and softening. Letting the jaw go. It's a great place for holding tension. Letting it loosen. Down through the back of my head, running down through my neck. Letting the neck lengthen and soften. Shoulders slowly falling away. Becoming aware of the body, breathing. Rising and falling. Connecting with the back, core muscles of the back supporting the spine, helping us be upright, expansive. Feeling our body be long and open, so the breathing can extend through us and soften us. Move down into the groin and the pelvis, all the muscles, the energy there. And we're sitting, feeling a weight, sitting down, lying down. Giving ourselves into the ground. Being aware of the strength of our thigh muscles. Can they soften into the ground? Our knees, our calves, and the feet. Letting them open, fall into the ground. Our body supported, rising up, just being present. And we begin the Metta Bhavana. Simple attitude of loving kindness towards ourselves. Giving attention to our heart. Imagine this heart beating strongly, the warmth. May I be happy. May I be well. May I be free from suffering. Using those phrases as much as we need to keep us connected. gentle kindness to the whole of oneself, whatever we like. Now we turn to our good friend, bringing them, as it were, in front of us. Calling on delightful friendship. And we could use their name. May they be happy. May they be well. May they be free from suffering. enjoying the warmth of the heart. Opening ourselves up now to a neutral person. We don't know much about them. We don't have a great feeling for them. We can simply wish them to be happy, and may they be well, and may they be free from suffering. When the attention wanders, just notice that. Come back to the body. Be present, sitting. Giving our attention to a difficult person. Worth choosing someone not too difficult. Someone where things are just a bit awkward right at the moment. Noticing our physical response. May they be happy. May they be well. May they be free from suffering. Bringing together these people, ourself, a good friend, a neutral person, and a difficult person. Imagine all being together in a sense of the same kindness between all. May we all be happy. May we all be well. May we all be free from suffering. We begin to add a couple more friends, family, extending this circle out. All people we know, people around us and further away. Just keep reaching out with our kindness. let our heart open as far as it can. Those further and further away, those less like us, poor, wealthy, young and old, taking in all sentient beings, all animals, may all be happy, may all be well, may all be free from suffering. Letting go of the practice and just sitting. Making no effort. Being with the body, being with the heart. Taking our time to come out of the practice. When we're ready, opening our eyes. As you become a bit more present with us here and the rest of everyone else on board, we've now got time for questions, comments, curiosities, whatever you'd like to say in connection with the practice or whatever might be going on, what was helpful, what was difficult. It takes a little while for questions to come through, so while you're reflecting, or perhaps there's no questions, I'm going to ask you, how is your body now? Do you remember what it was like before we started sitting? Or even if you don't, even if you can't compare it, how is your body? How is your body now?
A little more open.
You're a little bit more open, good. Particularly this way, chest,
yeah.
yeah.
Chest and
Good.
lie down.
Good.
I feel more present in my body, and it's pleasurable to be here.
Pleasurable to be in your body.
Yeah.
Good.
There's a couple of things coming through. So Miriam says, good question, quite fluid.
Fluid, okay, good.
Nice image. Linda says, feeling deeply relaxed, gentle smile on my face. And Liz B says, quite settled and warm. And Lizzie says, I always feel so much warmer emotionally after a meditation.
Good. Well done. Warmth is a real quality of metta. Quality of the heart.
I often feel quite big in meditation, like especially in the Metta Bhavana. I mean, not afterwards, but during it, of having, I know people talk of sort of a sense of spaciousness, but I feel it in a very sort of physical, bodily sense of my body, being a very big being that can hold a lot.
Oh, right, okay.
And then that's sort of quite helpful for thinking of when I'm including other people. I don't feel sort of diminished or not that it's a comparison, but just that it's like, oh, all of this is possible because look how big I am.
Yeah. So you're big enough to hold people
Yeah.
and be with them more.
Yeah. People I don't know, and be curious about them, and people that I find difficult, it's you know, it's not. Yeah, there's a big enough space, I suppose,
Good.
to hold it.
Yeah. Yes, it's a curious quality, isn't it? Being big.
Yeah.
How big is your heart to
Yeah.
just be as much as you want it to be?
Yeah.
To give and to take people in.
Lizzie says, there's also a melting away of tension in my shoulders during a sit, which is lovely.
Melting's good, isn't it? With the warmth.
Janet says, more relaxed, more peaceful, and finding it possible to be more forgiving to myself.
Right. Oh, well done. Well done. Yes. Forgiveness is a practice over and over again.
You used that phrase, didn't you? Looking at things with kindly eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that.
Mm.
You know, I find that really sort of linked with forgiveness and just being able to turn from being stern with yourself to being...
There's some people just have really kindly eyes, don't they? Some people just look at you and something happens. And it's the same eyes, but somehow there's a kindness coming out. And it's delightful to be looked at with kindly eyes. So why don't I do it to other people and why don't I do it to myself? It's, kindly eyes is rich, isn't it?
Yeah, Janet's responding to your comment on reminding yourself to be forgiving. You know, it's something that does need constant reminding. Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, Sumajosha, 10, 12 years ago, we studied with Sangharakshita, and he chose the chapter in the Bodhicharyavatara on forgiveness. What was the other? There's two things, forgiveness and... Forbearance. That's particularly how he translated it, as forbearance, to put up with oneself, to forgive. And what's the Sanskrit word for that?
Kshanti.
Okay, kshanti, yes.
Sue says that she gets a sense of possibility. And Miriam's put under that, she gets a strong sense that love is limitless. And Lizzie's put a question in saying, is it helpful to choose the people for each stage before you settle down, or is it better to see who comes up?
Is it better to choose the person beforehand, or is it better to see who comes up? I would say it's a matter of temperament. It depends what she already does. She might naturally have a way of going about it. I'd say it's a matter of temperament. If you feel you need to, thinking about people during the day, why not just say, oh yeah, why don't I bring that person in? Sometimes I find myself being a bit indecisive in the meditation. Oh no, I should have sorted this out beforehand. Yeah, him, no her, no him. And so sometimes it's not a bad idea to have it in advance, but sometimes people just, some of us are a bit more spontaneous and you just know who it is straight away. It's something to experiment with, I think.
That seems to be all the comments coming through.
Yeah, it's good to hear people saying warmth and melting and expansiveness and open, and all those sort of, you open, you become bigger, open, you've got a bit more to give and to receive. To allow this, because it's an in and out process, like breathing. We give it out, it comes back. Everyone's could be richer for it, whatever goes on.
Linda says it's definitely more possible to forgive others if I can forgive myself.
It's funny to wonder what do we really need to forgive ourselves for? Because I've thought of people who just don't get bothered by the things I've done, as it were, there's nothing for them to forgive of me. They don't need to forgive me because I've done nothing. So, oh yeah, I thought I'd done something. Why don't I just forgive myself? Was it terrible? Was it a big deal? Am I going to solve the problem by not forgiving myself, or am I more likely to move on by forgiving myself? How bad was it that I've got to forgive, or how is it like, well, I did that, I said that, oh dear. I'm more likely to be more responsive and more creative by forgiving, less likely to do whatever thing I did or thought I did, do it again. Well, thanks for everyone's comments. Thanks for the questions. It's a wonderful exploration, Metta Bhavana. We're coming to the end of the evening. Next week, we have the wonderful Samudra Ghosha offering the week 8 course, and we will be opening to the mystery. He'll be inviting us to be opening to the mystery. That's a mysterious title, isn't it? There we go. And just like to ask, as always, for whether you could reflect on dana. My job is with money and fundraising, and I find that there's so much generosity. There's already a lot of generosity. So it's delightful to just see generosity flowing, the enjoyment of generosity, the abundance that people have. So I'm going to ask you to enjoy giving freely to the centre to allow us to keep doing what we're doing. Without our classes, things are a little bit difficult, a few other challenges going on. So enjoy giving, give abundantly, and make a difference to us. We'd much appreciate that. And let's hope before too long we'll be bumping into each other here again, present before too long. Well, thanks everyone for coming. Thanks for my team for coming. Lovely to have you here, and we'll be seeing you next week. And some of you will be seeing on Saturday.